Let's see if I still remember how to do this. Hey, Sean. It's been a while. That's becoming the catchphrase, but it's been like 3-4 months since I've put almost anything up on YouTube, and it's for good reason. I've been happily busy, and since August, I've traveled for work. I've traveled to Chicago, Ohio, Houston, Northern Michigan, Minnesota, and Africa. So I've been all over, and I've been a part of bigger projects, and I've been in charge of bigger projects than I ever have before. The last 6 months have been awesome and unpredicted in some good ways, but it's taken me all over the country, all over the world, and my craft has changed quickly, and I've had to learn and adjust quite a bit to these different filming inside Powell Symphony Hall or Viking Stadium in Minnesota or in the middle of nowhere in Burkina Faso, Africa. There have been challenges, and I've had to move and groove and adapt to create what I needed to create in these places. And so I wanted to take just a second to make a quick list of 6 things. I think my list is at 6. 6 things, pieces of gear and video-related software that I've learned that I really can't live without. Having filmed in now just a crazy range of situations with a whole lot of variety, there's 6 things that if I had to start over from scratch, I would make sure I have these 6 things before I have anything else. The first one is my small HD focus monitor. It's a little monitor. It's on the camera right now. The things that this does, having a big monitor that's bigger than your camera screen is really, really helpful for obviously focusing and framing and just being able to see your image better. But the software inside the Focus lets me do false color and focus peaking and a lot of features that the built-in screens on the cameras don't have. And false color in particular is so helpful and so beneficial for making sure your exposure is right. And going to Africa, I didn't have the room, or I didn't have the weight allotment to bring my Focus monitor and all the batteries that I would have needed to run it for the week I was there. And I missed it. A whole lot of my footage is overexposed, and even though I was looking at my histogram in the camera, which is really the only thing you have to check exposure in camera on this Sony A7 III, even with that, a lot of times things were blown out, and it's hard to tell on the screen when the sun's on it and the screen is at full brightness. It's really hard to tell, and false color gets rid of all of that uncertainty and tells you exactly where your exposure levels are across your image, so you can make sure that what you want in focus and well exposed is in focus and well exposed. So I missed my small HD focus, and I say I had a bunch of batteries that I could have brought for it, but I've used it for full days, and with a single Sony LP battery, it's lasted the entire day. So I can't really tell you what the battery life is because I've never depleted it in a full day shoot. So it's at least a full day worth of battery. Second thing on my list is my Aputure 120D chip on board LED light. I love this thing. It's a single source bright LED light, and it has changed the way that I do all of my interviews, all of my lighting, and it's changed the way that I've been able to capture a lot of B-roll because it's such a portable light. It's battery powered. You can plug it in, obviously, and I do for most interviews, but you can also put a V-mount battery on the back of it and power it off V-mount batteries, and it'll last for an hour or two at least 50-60% brightness without a problem. And so when I've shot in 2 different old schools, crawling into these attic spaces and stuff and trying to film in these dark, dingy places, having a light that I can just bring and not have to look around for a plug, not have to do anything crazy, and just all of a sudden have light with a good diffusion. I can put the Light Dome Mini on it. It's been really, really helpful. I've loved it in all of my interviews. I wish I could have brought it to Africa. It's daylight balanced, and it's got a really, really high CRI. I love this light. And if I had to start over again, I would make sure that it's the first light I buy, and maybe the only light I buy for quite some time, because it's really handy. Right now it's set up in front of me with the space light attachment to it, which is this long cylinder. It's pretty, casts a nice, soft light. I love this light. Third, and I don't know why this is number 3 because it's probably pretty important as if I'm building a kit from scratch, is the Sony A7 III. I have a Sony A7S II and a Sony A6500. I switched to Sony from Canon about 2 years ago, and the A7 III is incredible, and I'm waiting for the A7 II to come out, and I'm happy when this video becomes obsolete because it's out. But this camera is the best of both worlds with crazy good low light video. It's really versatile, it's really powerful, it's got good frame rates, and it's got great resolution and good color science too. And over the A7S II, it still shoots really, really high resolution. It's got 24 megapixel, 28 megapixel stills compared to the 12 megapixel of the A7S II. And the battery life is incredible. In Africa, I bought 4 batteries for it, and I never used more than a single battery in a single day. It lasted all day, even in the heat. It was awesome. It stood the test. And so as I've shot longer full day things where I'm rolling for hours and hours and hours, 1 or 2 batteries gets you through the whole day, and that's really, really convenient. It's also been convenient. I've been doing a little bit of time-lapse work, and the problem with the Sony A7S II and the A6500 is, A, those small batteries barely last long enough to get a long time-lapse, and B, if you do like want to plug in, they can charge via USB, so you can put like a little cell phone battery booster, you can plug that in, but that goes in the same slot as the intervalometer would. The A7 III has 2 USBs. It has the USB-C, and I can charge via that port if I needed to, and it has the USB micro that my intervalometer or my Rhino slider can plug into and trigger all the photos and capture huge resolution raw photos. So I've had some really, really good time-lapse work done because I've got the A7 III, and I'm a big fan, so that's in my kit. 4 and 5, I'll say real quick. 4, I upgraded. I had a Zoom H4n, then I had a Zoom H6. I liked both of those a lot. I used them for all of my audio, but then I upgraded to the Zoom F4. And that's what I'm using to record this, and that's what I use to record everything. And it's got a higher resolution that it can record in. It's got a good bit rate and a good bit depth. It'll go up to like 192 kilohertz. Like it's really, really good. And in that extra quality, I've been able to take out so much noise from HVAC and from just ambient noise and echo and stuff. The resolution of the audio is so good that it's got a whole lot of room in it to tweak. And the other big thing is dual channel recording. So I can plug one microphone in and record it into 2 separate channels and control the volume on those separately. And so I've had a few situations where I've had a group sitting around a single microphone, and there's one person who talks really, really loud. It's Jason from Strange Donuts. And a bunch of people who talk at a normal volume. And so I can set one to record the mic at a normal volume, and one I can turn it down so that when Jason talks, it's not peaking and overriding the channel. And so when I go to edit, I can basically just switch back and forth as though they were 2 separate microphones, and that way Jason's audio isn't peaking and everyone else's audio is loud enough in their channel to be heard. And so it's really, really handy. And even if there's a single speaker to come up and down, I did a project where somebody was singing and they would talk a little bit, but when they would sing, it'd be so loud. And so with those 2 channels, I was able to capture both audios at a good level for both of those things without having to sit there as they're talking and adjust volume. I love the F4, and that's all. Number 5 is Frame.io, which is a website. It's not a piece of gear, but Frame.io is where I've been uploading all of my videos for client approval and even for delivery, where the clients can download them from there. I used to use Dropbox for all of that. Frame.io has all this stuff built into it to where people can comment in line, and those comments get time-stamped. So if somebody's watching the video and they're like, I don't like this clip right here, or this clip I love, can we turn this up a little bit? Any notes like that get time-stamped to exactly where they're watching it. And then with 2 or 3 clicks, I can take all those comments and they get put onto my Final Cut timeline and they stick there. And so if you get like edits and they give you a list of time code and you pull up your project, if you edit in the beginning and they're like, take out these 10 seconds, and then their next bit of time code is now 10 seconds off because it's, been slid up. The great thing about Frame.io is everything gets stuck to the sticky timeline. And so when you do one edit, everything else slides and stays, anchored to the relevant point in the content. So it's really, really handy. and it's changed how I've been able to edit and how quickly I've been able to turn things around. And paired with my new fiber optic internet, it's crazy upload speeds, and their uploader is awesome. So Frame.io has changed the way that I've done my client interaction with video, and I absolutely love it. And the last piece of gear, some eyes will roll, but my iPhone. And I just upgraded to the iPhone 10s, and I really like it. Camera's great on it. I used it a bunch in Africa to shoot and to record video for some vlogs that I may never publish. But the speed of it and some of the features with Frame.io and the native app for the iPhone for Frame.io allows me to do so much of my work from my phone. Anything except video editing, essentially, I can do from my phone. And that matters because as I've been traveling all over the place, to not have to pull out a laptop to add people to a project or respond to comments, everything just works really, really quickly. The battery on it lasts all day. And as I was thinking about if I had to start over, what would I get? And the iPhone is essential to running Boom as a small business by myself. And I think without it, I can run QuickBooks on it. I can do so many little things so quickly that it makes it possible to move and groove and to go around. And as I'm on location somewhere, if I suddenly have to send an invoice to a different client because they lost something or I need to follow up, everything's right there. And it allows me to do what I love to do just that much better. So that's it. Like I said, there's a lot more gear that I have, and that I don't know if there's much more gear that I want right now because I have quite a bit of it and I'm in a good spot. But as I've had the time to reflect and do these bigger projects and see how my gear is held up to this variety of projects, those are the 6 things that have really stood out as being really, really helpful. And if I had to start over, I would make sure that I had those 6 things. Or if anyone out there was starting a business or getting into video production, get a good light, get a good audio recorder, get a good camera, get some good software, and you'll be happy that you did. That's it. There'll be more of these. I closed my studio. I used to have a studio like 6 blocks away from my house, and I closed that because I've been traveling so much. It didn't make sense to maintain a studio that I was never at and that I had to go to and pay to have internet there. So set up a little desk in my house, and it's so much easier and so much nicer. So the setting has changed a little bit, and I don't know what I'm going to do for future YouTube videos to make this prettier because I really liked this studio. It was basically great for shooting YouTube videos and not great for much else. But without it, we'll see where this goes. Thanks for watching. And if you have any questions about what it was like to shoot in Africa, what it's been like to shoot and produce bigger projects with crews of multiple people, throw them in the comments, and I will do my best to answer those questions. And I'll do my best to make more videos, I promise. See you later.